Built in 1924 as the Medical Arts Building, the structure housed doctors, dentists, a hospital with psychiatric wards, operating rooms, a morgue, and even a crematorium. Its neo-Gothic architecture, complete with terracotta gargoyles depicting various ailments, reflects its original purpose and lays the foundation for its spooky legacy. Today, it's recognized as a historic hotel of America and transformed into the Emily Morgan Hotel in 1984. Grounds steeped in tragedy, the hotel stands on land adjacent to the Alamo's Long Barracks, where over 600 men died in the 1836 battle. Some stories suggest the restless spirits of those fallen soldiers remain nearby. The hotel's paranormal activity is widespread, but certain floors are particularly renowned for their unsettling encounters. The third floor. Guests report being woken by humming and seeing a young girl perched at the foot of their bed, inviting them to sing. On other nights, some have felt the weight of an unseen presence lying next to them. On the 7th floor, considered the most haunted, witnesses frequently mention a ghost bride, a woman in white who appears in hallways, shrieks at 3 a.m., and disappears through the walls. The 9th floor. Reports include wine bottles sliding off tables, toilet seats slamming up and down on their own, and unexplained noises from unoccupied rooms. The 11th floor. An elderly woman in a hospital gown has been seen weeping in corridors before disappearing into rooms. Guests also hear hospital gurneys being pushed along hallways, only to find nobody there when they check, of course. 12th and 14th floors. These floors once housed surgeries and the crematorium. Guests report faucets and lights turning on by themselves, doors opening, closing randomly, auditory glimpses of medical scenes, and eerie smells of antiseptic or bandages in the hallways. On the 14th floor, which is technically the 13th due to superstition, guests have described spectral hospital scenes that vanish as soon as you open the door. The hotel purposely skips room number 1408 because 1 plus 4 plus 0 plus 8 equals 13. Basements and elevators. The basement area, once the morgue and crematorium, is said to emanate the scent of burning flesh, alongside reports of floating orbs and disembodied voices in pain. Elevators randomly go haywire, calling empty, stopping on floors unrequested, shuttling passengers to the basement, and sometimes trapping them. The hotel claims the elevators have no mechanical faults. Some publications rank the Emily Morgan Hotel as the 3rd most haunted hotel globally, citing the volume and variety of paranormal reports. The management even embraces its haunted reputation, offering room with a boo packages during Halloween and encouraging guests to ask about ghostly occurrences. Staff receive reports of unusual happenings about once a month. Here are a bunch more personal guest tales and first-hand reports from people who stayed at or worked in the Emily Morgan Hotel. Some are more eerie than others. You can decide how much you believe them. The singing girl and nighttime presence on the third floor. A guest staying on the third floor was awakened by humming in the middle of the night. She saw a young girl sitting at the foot of her bed, who asked if she wanted to sing along. The next night, in the same room, she felt someone get into the bed with her, pressing against her side. The temperature in the room dropped sharply. 2. Weeping in the gown, 11th floor. Multiple guests on the 11th floor report seeing an elderly woman dressed in a hospital gown, walking the hallway. On some occasions, she's seen weeping, then vanishing into a room. Also, there are reports of hearing hospital gurneys or carts being pushed in the hallway at odd hours, doors open to investigate, and no one is there. The 7th floor is frequently cited as the most haunted. Guests have seen a ghost bride apparition. She appears in the hallways, sometimes in their rooms, then disappears through walls or doors. Some guests awake in the middle of the night to blood-curdling screams believed to be connected to this ghost bride. We talked about the bathroom doors and the flickering lights and the faucets going off and on by themselves. Guests staying on the 12th floor have described their bathroom doors opening and closing unbidden, faucets dripping or turning on and off by themselves, and lights flickering. One guest in room 1401 said that while in the shower, their phone on a desk nearby started to initiate FaceTime calls to 2 people in their contacts, even though neither of them had called. When they checked, their phone had made the call without their touching it. Another recounted riding in the elevator up to the 14th floor, which is really just numbering. There is no 13th floor, and seeing a food cart just outside the elevator door, but the hallway felt musky and empty. The guests navigated the floor map looking for room 1408, which doesn't exist. A guest also reported stepping into an elevator with a friend, and the elevator stopped on the middle floor, which was unrequested. The door opens and no one is there. Later, in the lobby, all of the lights went out, according to the guest. The front desk staff calmly said, "Yep, they heard you," implying recognition of ghostly activity. One couple took video and pictures during their stay. They knew of the haunting stories. When reviewing a video later, they heard a whisper that neither of them heard in person. Something that sounded like bad, overlapping their own conversation. Frequent reports of the smell of antiseptic or a hospital smell linger on the 12th and 14th floors. Also, from the basement, the site of the former crematorium and the morgue, some staff report smells like burning or decaying flesh, plus disembodied voices and orbs of light. Several guests say they've woken up in their rooms with the sensation that someone is watching them. Sometimes they feel pressure or a drop in the bed next to them, or feel something brushing against them despite being alone. Let's keep in mind, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I don't need to. This is simply a warning. Here's a quick recap of the reported occurrences. One more time before we begin our story. Hotel staff reports from the hotel's website. The Emily Morgan lists several occurrences which they attribute to guests and staff. Phones ringing late at night. When answered, no one on the other end. Housekeeping finds room pillows tossed to the floor after cleaning. A sales manager found their bathtub filled with blue water upon returning to their room after dinner. Guests and staff reporting smells of antiseptic or Band-Aid odor. Doors closing on their own, seeing orbs in video recordings. When included in the Historic Hotels of America listings for most haunted hotels, the Emily Morgan was described with specific recurring reports. Floors especially haunted, 7th and 9th and 14th floors. The National summarized some guest and staff experiences. Disembodied voices, ghostly apparitions, nurses and patients wandering halls in the areas that used to be the hospital. The elevators also sometimes stopping at floors when nobody has pressed a button. The Emily Morgan towered over San Antonio like a mausoleum. Its gargoyles leered down at tourists crossing the plaza, their faces twisted with ailments, broken teeth, bandaged limbs, missing eyes. A joke of architecture, people said, back when the building was a hospital. Erica didn't laugh. She checked into the 14th floor because she wanted the view of the Alamo at night. But really, she wanted the thrill. She had read about the hotel's history, the psych ward, the operating theaters, the crematorium in the basement. Ghost tours named it the most haunted hotel in Texas. Her room was unremarkable, if quieter than it should have been. The silence pressed against her like cotton stuffed in her ears. She unpacked quickly, telling herself she was only imagining the antiseptic sting in the air. That evening, she went down to dinner. The lobby felt warmer, full of voices. She almost convinced herself the 14th floor was nothing but a floor. But when she returned, her door stood ajar. The bathroom light glowed, and inside, the tub brimmed with water the color of cobalt glass, perfectly still, and the faucet was dry. Erica backed away, closed the door, and locked the deadbolt. At midnight, she woke to the sound of squeaking wheels, a gurney rattling over tile. She pressed her ear to the door. Somewhere in the hallway, metal clanged against metal. She cracked the door just enough to peer out. The hall stretched empty, but at the far end, the lights flickered. And for a moment, she swore she saw a nurse in a stiff, white uniform. Her face blurred, as though she was looking through frosted glass, pushing the stretcher. The sheet draped over the body was spotted dark. When Erica blinked, the hall was still again. On the 3rd floor, the elevator opened by mistake. She hadn't pressed it, yet there she was, staring at a little girl sitting cross-legged on the carpet. The child hummed tunelessly, rocking back and forth. When the girl lifted her face, her eyes were hollow shadows. Erica slammed the button for 14, 14, 14. She was hysterical. By the second night, her room no longer felt like her own. The tub emptied itself, but left veins of blue staining the porcelain. The mirror above the sink fogged and cleared without heat or steam. She swore she saw a figure in a hospital gown standing behind her in the mirror, head tilted, mouth opening wider and wider as if to scream. And then came the smell. Not antiseptic now, but something sweeter. Burned meat, faint and lingering, as if smoke had settled into the carpet. She remembered the stories about the basement crematorium and refused to use the elevator again. On her final night, Erica lay awake in bed, clutching the blanket. The whispers began at 3 a.m. A woman's voice, low and close, though no one stood near. "Stay," it breathed. "You belong here." The temperature dropped. The mattress dipped as if someone sat down beside her. She felt pressure at her side, the shape of a body curling close. In the corner of the room, the tub gurgled. Water rose on its own, climbing higher, shimmering blue in the dark. Erica fled at dawn, dragging her suitcase down 14 flights of stairs. She never returned to San Antonio, but sometimes, when she runs a bath, the water catches the light strangely, and for a heartbeat, it looks blue. There are a reported 2,025 haunted locations in the U.S. alone, so our journey is just getting started. Thank you for listening.